Hassel here, co-host of the Nerdy Man Room Show. And we proudly present to you Man Room Shorts. Your discretion is advised.
Why don't we just go ahead and dive into that, because the crowdfunding and the HasLab all together. I think you can't talk just the HasLab without talking crowdfunding and stuff anyway, right?
Yeah.
But let me ask you this question, Star. What do you think about the crowdfunded projects?
I'm actually a fan of them. I think it gives the fans a chance to get something that we wouldn't typically get. Because let's face it, some of these things we want are just beyond the scope and realm of reality as far as, pricing, and they can't just, they pay per inch on shelf when they put them in, and to justify putting them on, in retail,
Yeah.
they have to know it's going to fucking sell. $300 figures do not just typically sell in a Walmart, a Target, where, so forth and so on. So that it's going to be a retail online deal.
Yeah.
So I get it. I like it. I'm a fan of it. And let's face it. You'd have never got a Sentinel like what we got. You wouldn't have got the Sky Striker. You wouldn't have got Galactus. The new generation WWF ring would have never, ever been an option. I'm a fan of them myself. I think that the Star Wars team, that they put things out a little too close together with some other things. And on top of that, I think they just overestimated the fact that Star Wars fans, as feverish as we are for things and our love, and I think they just banked on the success of the Black Series a little too much.
Yeah.
Because, the fans of that series, they're very, very feverish. Time something hits the shelf, it's gone within seconds, and the next thing you know, the figures on eBay go on for $100, and they thought that they would just clamor and take this no matter what.
Yeah.
And hold their ankles, and they didn't.
And I'm like you. I'm a fan of the crowdfunded projects. I think they give you a way to get something, like you said, you wouldn't have normally got. Because if you think about a business, you can't just spend a ton of money making this mold for this gigantic figure and then put, 50,000 of them out there and 10,000 sell. And you can't put 10,000 of them out there, or you can't. And the goal and the people want is a 50,000 level, right?
Well,
so you're damned if you do, or you're damned if you don't.
A team of 3 guys and say, okay, sculpt me something as a concept. Okay, they spend X amount of time and X amount of clay, screws, so forth and so on. But they haven't went as far as the mold and going to production and all that. There are 2 different animals there. So
yeah,
Hasbro, even with what they put into the Rancor situation, they only have X amount of dollars in it, and it's nowhere near what it'd be if they just were trying to market this for Toys R Us shelves.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. You're not going to sell as many as a typical retail, because people are going to look at it like, I can't spend $300 on that, except for the very rabid fan, or a Christmas present for your child. And that's the only Christmas present they're getting. That's their big present.
How many times have you been to a Toys R Us? You remember just before they shut down here in the States, probably a year prior to them shutting down, they started carrying the high-end quality lightsabers, the real effects.
Yeah.
Well, I say high-end. They're mid-level, I guess, so to speak, in the terms of scope of things. But they're pretty damn nice, lightsabers, and they were going for what? Like $100 to $200, somewhere in that range. Typically 180 maybe. Okay, you saw that in there, and it's like, holy shit, these are really nice. Can't believe they're in Toys R Us. But you didn't throw it in the buggy.
No.
Because of the price. You got to look at how many of these figures that I won't see anywhere else, because I don't live in a town that has a Toys R Us, can I pick up versus that?
Right. And that's the same thing for me, right? I was just, unless it was something that I was dead set on, like I was going to get the Red Ranger's power sword, right? I was dead set if I found I was going to get it. So I dropped the $125, $130, whatever it was when it came out, for it. But if I'd have walked into the store and they had, the Real Effects lightsaber, as much as I like them, I'm not going to drop $100 on it, because I can go grab 5 figures for that, right? At that time. Now it's like 3 figures at this point in time, but prices keep going up.
There.
But that's why I like the crowdfunding, though, because you can get behind it and you can back it. Now, for the company, like we talked about, it's better financially for them, because they're not sinking a ton of money making a production run that may or may not sell. anything they make, that's a guess. Is it going to sell or is it not? You know that Star Wars is going to sell, but do I know if Ula from the Rancor, the dancer from Jabba's Palace, is going to sell more than a Luke? I highly doubt that, but how would I know until I make it? Unless you've never made it, right?
Well, if you tease it as a crowdfunding thing, you see what the demand is there or not.
Yes.
Versus, it's a gamble. I mean, that's the thing that kind of probably toy companies that went in and out and during the 90s that went under were probably due to things like this where they banked on properties, because they didn't know until it hit the shelves what it was going to do.
Yeah. And I think that there's always some play into how you track that too once it goes out to a store and say, okay, all the stuff sold. Well, did it sell or did it sell because it went on discount and then went to Ollie's and you picked it up for $5? Yeah. So it still sold, but I didn't make the same profit margin. Whereas when you're doing that crowdfunding, you say, okay, every one of them's got to sell at this or it's not sold. And then you can really track your results. Did it really sell or did it not?
Yeah, I mean, if you're selling at retail versus cents on the dollar, it's a big difference.
Yeah. But I think there's another thing too in all of it. There's we're talking crowdfunded where the crowd's got to get behind and you got to reach a goal or it's not made, which is a great model if you're saying, okay, I'm not going to spend the money to make this unless we get enough people. But there's also that made to order function too, right? So like a Super 7 is a perfect model of that. They make the Thunder Tank, they make the Turtles Party Wagon. They tell you we're going to make it no matter what. So whether we sell 5 or 500 or 500,000, it's going to get made, and this is the price of it to get it made. Now, for a smaller company, that's probably the way to go because can you really get the crowd to fund in and get enough people to buy into it at that price?
Well, Super 7 isn't, I mean, I'm not knocking the brand by no means. I mean, they put out a really quality product, and I like a lot of the things they're doing, but they're just not well known enough, I think, to be ballsy enough to do crowdfunding yet.
Right.
Hasbro can get away with it.
Well, and Super 7 has very small and limited footprint in a plant. That plant is not making just their stuff. They work with plants that they might make their plastic figures and they might make plastic pipe for PVC pipe or whatever, right? But the thing is they can go and say, okay, I want 5 of these. We know what it's going to cost us to make this. And then we know what it's going to cost to make one. So I say I need 5 of those in a batch. It's not going to cost them any more or any less because they're only taking up one limited production run inside this company. For Hasbro, who owns their own toy making company, they've got to make a certain amount of batch or they've lost money. If we don't make at least 50 of these, we've lost money. Well, if I can only sell 10, why would I do
it? They probably spend more in assembly than they do, honestly, in the plastic that they're, producing the molds from.
Yeah, and that's what I say. There's a difference in those two different models, but I think there's a place for both of them in the market because a small company can do a made to order and you can get it. I wonder sometimes, if they'd have done something like that with some of the stuff from Hasbro, though, and I'm using them as an example. If you'd have done something different with that Zord Ascension project, said it's a made to order and we're going to put this stuff in it, so it's going to cost this, would people have bought into that more? I mean, it still sold out for what they had, but we don't know how many they sold. Was that 1,000 or was that 12,000? At least when we're backing the project, the crowdfunding, we know what we're getting.
And how many people do you think probably was like, I want to back this, but I don't even want to waste my money and tie my money up into this until I know what's going to go over?
Well, I think that's one of the things that affects us crowdfunding because if you look at the charts of them, they all have that. They all sell quickly, plateau, and then the ones that finalize, they end up hitting. As soon as they hit their mark, you see a steep incline in their sales again.
Yeah, well, once I have noticed is you see this initial boost off, and it's like once they're in the atmosphere, it's kind of like just teetering, but then if it reaches its goal, then it skyrockets, and you have this huge, burst of people that jump on the wagon at the last minute. But
and that's something you won't see in a made-to-order setup, right? Because they're going to buy as they buy.
No, you didn't have that problem with the Thunder Tank. I mean, you either give them your $4.99 and you got a damn Thunder Tank in 2 years, or you didn't, and you were going to be jealous in 2 years. Because I know myself, I'm going to be an envious green motherfucker in about another year when those start hitting, and I see people with the beautifulness of the Thunder Tank, and I don't have it. So if any of our listeners want to send a house or something for Christmas, it's the season to give, motherfuckers.
You'll get the Hot Wheels Thunder Tank.
You know what? I wouldn't turn it down at this point, but I'm just, I would, I'm kind of I've been on the edge so many times of getting that, but I can't justify it at the moment.
Yeah, I think there's a place in the market for this stuff, and I don't want to see either one go away. It's just I don't think, and this is where I think we go into the HasLab specifically. I don't think they planned very well for how they did these. So, and even the made to order stuff, like they're doing the party wagon now for Super 7, but they waited a year. Last year at this time was when we were selling the Thunder Tank, or early this year, like January or whatever. But it's December now, and they're starting to sell the party wagon, but that's a year apart. So if I need to save some money, I can afford to do that to get them right.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're going to buy one $500 vehicle a year versus Hasbro trying to slump them together.